Hi, welcome to Straight Stitching, where I turn fabric into art one stitch at a time. My name is Tiffany and I'm your guide to quilting with confidence. Today we're going to be picking up on our series where we are building a sampler quilt, and I am calling it Straight Stitching Sew Sampler. Today we'll be working on blocks 2 and 3 of the quilt. I think you'll find that these two blocks are pretty quick and easy, so this is why I'm combining them into one video. So stick along or stick with me and we will get started. As in the previous video, I will tell you how many pieces you need and of what sizes. Block number 2 is, again, a pretty simple block. I have it pretty much laid out here. I've laid it out so you can get a visual for the number of pieces that you'll need. So for this particular block, you're going to need 8 pieces of background fabric. The size of each of these cuts is 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And then you'll also need, for each block, you will need 4 3.5 by 3.5 inch pieces of your, I guess, your coordinating fabric. I'm using this orange fabric here with the little kind of sunflowers on it. And again, this project, for me, I'm using it as a scrap buster project. You can certainly decide to choose to cut new yardage for a more coordinated overall look of your quilt. In the center where you see I don't have any pieces yet, this is where 4 half square triangles will be placed. So I'm going to take those pieces over to my sewing machine. Because we walked through how to do the half square triangles yesterday, I'm not going to show that on camera. So I'm going to take my blocks, which are 4 inches by 4 inches, to my sewing machine. For each of the blocks, you will need 2 background pieces that are 4 inches square and 2 color coordinating pieces that are 4 inches squared. You will take those to your sewing machine, and each of those 2 pieces or 2 mini blocks will net you 4 half square triangles. And then you're going to take those half square triangles, and like we did in the first video, you're going to trim them to 3.5 inches squared. And so once that's done, I will be able to fill in the center of this block. So I'm going to pause the video, and then I will come back once I have those half square triangles together, and then we will put this block together. Again, this is a really quick and easy block. Once you see it laid out, I think it will come together pretty quickly. I have each sides, or if you follow the last video, you will get the hang of how I do this. So I have the pairs stitched together, and now I will take each of the 2 pairs in the rows and attach them. And then I will come back and attach all of the rows, and then I will end up with the 2 completed quilt blocks. I did not, in between what I'm going to do now and stitching these together, I did not press the seams open yet. I did finger press them, but in order to save a step of going to the ironing station, I'm going to do all of that at one time. So I'm now going to, as I mentioned, connect the 2 halves. And then I will continue to do that until I have 4 rows, and then I'll come back and attach the 4 rows together. With each of the rows now formed, I am going to move on to the next step, which is to attach the rows in pairs. So I will attach these two rows together, and then I will attach these two rows together, and then I'll come back and attach the two halves of the quilt block. I am going to pin these together just so that, again, I can make my corners as crisp as possible. Um, some people are able to do that without pinning. For me, pinning is helpful. So I will do that, and then I'll come back and you'll see what the completed quilt block looks like. There you have it. Block number 2 is completed. I hope that you did find that this was an easy, and I hate to use the term easy because I do recognize if you are a newer quilter, perhaps none of this is easy, but it's definitely less involved in some quilt blocks that I have seen. So again, for this one, you pretty much use 3.5-inch pieces as well as the 4-inch pieces to make the half square triangles in the center here. So this is block number 2. There are 10 unique blocks in this particular soul sampler quilt that we'll be making. So we will move on to block number 3. Block number 3, I think you'll find will be the easiest block yet, or the block that is least involved. So I will come back shortly with the dimensions of the material that you'll need for that block, and then we'll get that stitched together as well. For block 3, for some odd reason, the audio did not record, so I'm doing a voiceover. What you see me doing here is pointing out the different pieces of material that are needed for block 3. The corner pieces are 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches squared. The center piece is 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches squared. And then the yellow pieces that are framing the middle are 6.5 by 3.5 inches. And then after pointing out the different size materials, I will begin to stitch the materials together using a 1/4 inch seam, going one row at a time. Of the different sizes of the different pieces that were used to piece this block. So again, the corners are 3.5 inches squared. The yellow pieces framing the center were 6.5 by 3.5 inches, and then the center piece is 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches. And then you'll piece them all together using a 1/4 inch seam. And once you've done that, you will end up with 2 blocks that look like what you see before you. So again, I hope that you are learning something new, or at least, coming up with some different colorways. In the next videos, we will put together the remaining pieces. So we have 7 more blocks to go. Here is a picture of both of the blocks completed. Again, I have no idea what happened to the audio during the filming of the third block. I promise I'll figure that out. So please do stick with me. Make sure if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Please also make sure that you set the alert by clicking the bell. And I really would appreciate any comments that you have. So feel free to leave comments, just your opinions and thoughts on the series and any questions that you might have. So thanks for hanging there with me. And we will, in the next video, move on to block 4.